Kingdom Hearts was always a special game to me. It was the first game that I really sank my teeth into. I feel like everyone remembers that first game they really decided to dedicate their time to beating. The first game where turning down the difficulty means you still have many hours ahead of you. When Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out and they released the bundle with all of the games, I was all over that. Every modern Kingdom Hearts console game, and now with trophies, what could be better? At the time, I played and beat them, but I was so excited to play 3, I didn't spend much time on collecting or leveling to get the platinums in the early games. But years pass, and here I am much later, but no less a fan. I'll be getting the platinums in all of them, but this video is about Kingdom Hearts 1. So I present to you, dear viewer, the Platinum Trophy. So if you've got some time to kill, hang out and watch for a bit while I talk about what it takes to get this, and give some tips and tricks along the way. I am going into this assuming I am talking to someone who has never played the game, so that being said, first things first, play through it. Experience the game, the music, the characters. Take everything in your first playthrough and don't even look at the trophies. The story and the characters are masterfully written, in my opinion. This is the beginning of the adventure for all of them, so I would recommend doing your best to take it all in. Needless to say, Kingdom Hearts also has one of the best game soundtracks of all time. There is one tip I will give you now though, and spoiler free for the first campaign, just something to possibly save some time in the long run. As you go through the game, you will learn magic. Later on, these spells all get upgraded to more powerful versions, but for this, all you need is the base spell. Pretty basic mechanic. I hear you say spells help in combat a lot. Wrong. It's not wrong, but this is a tip for using the spells for something else. As you go through the worlds, every now and then you will come on a room that has these white mushrooms walking around. If you are a noob like me on your playthrough, you just whack these little guys and wondered why they just disappear. Well, it turns out that all of them are looking for a certain type of magic to be cast on them. And they all tell you what magic they want by their motions. When they shiver, they want fire. Fanning themselves is blizzard. If they're laying on the ground, then that is cure. And floating is gravity. Not moving at all means they want stop. And spinning in circles calls for arrow. The last spell is thunder, and you cast that when they have an orange ball or sun-looking thing over them. You don't need to worry about why you're doing this now or the items you get, but it will save a lot of time later. You should also only do this on the save that you plan on getting all collectibles on, otherwise it would be a waste of time. Anyway, keep going through the game until you get to the final rest. This is the save just before the final boss, and from here you can choose to beat him and finish the game, or go back to the other worlds and grind some levels first. It's all up to you how hard you want the fight to be. At this point, I will start to talk about collectibles, more specifically the ones in Jiminy's journal. Up first, we have Dalmatians. Early in the game, we meet Pongo and Purdy, and we learn that their kids have been taken and hidden all over the different worlds. They can be found in chests or Trinity spots. Sometimes you need later game magic to get to the chests, but once you find them all, you can return the puppies to their parents for rewards. There are 99 to find, but you find 3 of them at a time, so it doesn't feel like quite so much. I'll be honest, there was a lot of this game that I did before that wasn't recorded, and finding the Dalmatians was part of that. What I can say is that they are not hard to find. Just explore every room that you can in the different worlds, and most of the puppies will basically fall into your lap. What will take the longest are the synthesis items. Every item that you can synthesize requires items that you get from fighting various Heartless. If you go to do this at the end of the game, there's a good chance that you already have a lot of the items. When you first look at the synthesis list, you won't have all of the items ready to synthesize, but the more you make, the more you will get. There are a few ingredients that require more specific steps, so I'll go through some of those now. Power Stones are dropped by Sniper Wilds, and they only appear in the 2nd district in Traverse Town. If you go in and there are normal spawns, make sure to kill all of them before leaving and coming back in. That will increase the chance of the Sniper Wilds spawning. When they spawn, do not let yourself be seen. Not only is it hard not to die, but you mess up your chance of getting a Power Stone. Sneak up to them and spam them with range magic. There's no need to get close. 1 will spawn by itself first, then 2, and then 3. And then after the 3 are killed, you get a Power Stone. I have even had it before that when I get one, I leave and go back to get another, and there's another round of Sniper Wilds for me to take on. So sometimes you do get lucky. Next up is Energy Stones, and they're only dropped by Stealth Heartless, which are normal Soldier Heartless, but invisible, and a bit stronger, I guess. I used Hollow Bastion to grind levels at the end of the game, and they always appear in the castle. You won't be able to see them, but you can lock onto them and beat them down. So you can get a Blazing Stone by going back to Halloween Town after closing the keyhole. Where Boogie's mansion was is now a giant hole, and sometimes there will be a special Heartless at the bottom called a Chimera. Defeat him and you will get your Weed Stone, Blazing Stone. Most of these special items do have to do with defeating a specific Heartless in a specific place, but the next two are especially tedious. Serenity Power. This one is a pain to get, but I can say it does get easier as you go up in your levels. To get this item, you need to go to Deep Jungle and then go up to the Treehouse. It's somewhat similar to the Sniper Wilds. You want a specific Heartless to spawn here, and clearing out the Heartless you don't need will raise the chances of it appearing. What you want to look for are these mushroom guys that are not moving at all. These are exactly the same as the other white mushrooms, so because they are not moving, they want stop cast on them. Once you find all three and cast stop on them, there will be a big one that spawns on the nets below. Here, you need to once again cast stop and then hit his head 40 times while he's frozen. And then even then, you only have a 10% chance of it dropping. You can use either Ars Arcanum or Ragnarok. I've seen it gotten with both. It will seem impossible early on, so I recommend making this one of the last things you do. It's all about the stop spell that's cast on him. If your spell is more upgraded, then he will be stopped for longer and you'll have more time to get in the 40 hits. So considering that the spell gets stronger as you level up, maybe wait to do this. Mystery Goo. The Mystery Goo. Remember early on when I said if you wanted to save yourself time, keep an eye out for the rooms with the white mushrooms? Well, this is why. To clarify again, as you explore any of the worlds, you will find these white mushrooms just chilling sometimes. They will do different motions, and the motions will indicate what magic they want cast on them. If you do the right magic 3 times in a row, then there is a chance that they will give you some Mystery Goo. The reason I said to keep an eye out for this is because you need a decent amount for synthesis, and I was running around looking for these guys for so long. But you thought that was it. You thought you got all the goo you needed and you don't need to mess with these guys anymore. You're adorable. We're not done. Let's talk about Donald's final stave. To get this, you need to take an art of each element to Merlin. What is that, I hear you ask? So say you run into a room somewhere and you find some of these white mushrooms. You go up to the first one and he's shivering, which means he needs some fire magic. If he then shivers 2 more times, then fire will have been casted 3 times in a row on him, meaning the mushroom will drop a Fire Arts. So to break it down simply, cast the same magic on the same mushroom 3 times in a row, and they will give you the arts for that magic. Take one of each type of the arts to Merlin, and he will give you the stave. And also the trophy to get all of the staves if you haven't gotten that. Obviously, this is if you have the others first. If you don't, just go and whoop some ass in the Colosseum, and you'll get them eventually. But when it comes down to the arts, obviously the mushrooms rarely do the same motion twice in a row, let alone 3 times. So when you come across a mushroom, cast the first spell on them, and then only cast it again if they do the motion. You might have to wait for a bit, and they might not do it again at all, but it's the best way that I found. So now at this point, my team is looking good. I got the best shield, I got the best stave, got the best keyblade, and we're looking good enough to begin to take down the secret bosses. First, let's focus on the obvious. It's the Colosseum. It's a good place to start regardless because you unlock Strike Raid after beating the Pegasus Cup. This is the best special move in the game because it does a bunch of damage, and you're also invincible while Sora hurls his keyblade over and over again. But back to the bosses. The gold match at the Colosseum is the Frost Titan. Unfortunately, his head is the only target, and it's too high, so we can't use Strike Raid here. There is actually only one way to hurt him, and that's by hitting these little ice shards back at him, and then that'll stun him and you can go in for some attack. The best way to do this is when they're coming at you, lightly tap the circle button, do a light jump, and an overhead swing down onto them. Hopefully you get more than one. The rest of the fight is pretty much just avoiding his attacks. It can be a bit annoying to do, so I use Glide to get around faster. He will drop balls of ice on you that will mostly only hit you if you don't move, and he also has an area of effect attack that you can avoid by going up on the stands. All of these attacks will also freeze you in place for a couple of seconds, so stay on your toes. Now with him beat, we can take on the big bad of the Colosseum. The Sephiroth fight is famous for good reason. It's hard. But there is a strategy that can make this much easier for you, and that strategy is called Strike Raid and Elixirs. Like I said earlier, Strike Raid makes Sora invincible, so if you time it right, you can avoid most of his combo attacks while still doing damage to him. And I noticed that it even interrupts his attack that will bring you down to 1 HP. I'll be honest, with my healthy amount of elixirs and spamming of Strike Raid, it only took me 2 tries to beat him. So I guess the strategy is a success. So now that the Colosseum is done, we can fly over to Neverland. You can get back to the clock tower by talking to Tinkerbell in Captain Hook's ship. So first of all, there is going to be something called Doom affecting the party. What this means is whoever it's cast on will die when the clock goes from 12 to 12 or 1 full rotation. The way to avoid this is every now and then when you think about it, cast Stop on the clock hand. When it comes to fighting the Phantom, it's just a game of match the color. When his chest is red, cast Fire. When it's blue, Blizzard. And when it's yellow, cast Thunder. When it's white and his heart is exposed, that's when you move in and get physical. The next secret boss is in Agrabah, and it's out in the desert. I don't really know what to say about Kurt here. You can't use magic until this first orb is gone. He has a shield. He's hard to hit at one point. Not sure what to say about physical attacks, Thunder Spell, and good old Strike Raid. A+ guide. Now for the last secret boss, who can be found in Hollow Bastion, where all of the princesses are hanging outside of the throne room. Maybe this is a bit late to mention, but in order to fight any of these secret bosses, you first need to close the keyhole in their respective worlds. Now, when I went to fight Xemnas, I was maxed out here with my best gear, so my strategy was hit harder than I was getting hit. Strike Raid is still your best bet here, even though sometimes you can come out of the invincibility at some rough times. Dodge roll is your friend, but Donald is not, so if you keep this in mind when your health gets low, you should be fine. Once I had finished the secret bosses, that was basically all I needed to do with my save file. As good as it felt to be max level wielding the Ultima weapon, it was time to move on. My next goal was to beat the game on Proud Mode, and I'll say this can be as easy as hard as you want it to be. What I mean by that is if you get stuck on a boss or a section, all you need to do is go elsewhere and grind some levels until it's no longer an issue. Even so, I'll try and give some tips to make it a little easier. Bet you didn't see this one coming, but Strike Raid. It's the best move in the game, what can I say? Even on Proud Mode, it makes most of the boss fights pretty trivial, and it all comes down to where you stand and when to activate it. To fully complete the game, I only needed 3 more trophies. Unfortunately, they're going to require a 3rd playthrough of the game. I don't know why I said, unfortunately, this game is a pleasure to play. Anyway, pretty conveniently, the last 3 trophies can be gotten in 1 playthrough, and usually are by people who are aiming to complete the game. The trophies left are Unchanging, which is to beat the game without ever changing equipment, Undefeated, which is to beat the game without ever using a continue, and Speedster, which requires you to defeat the World of Chaos in 15 hours or less. When I first looked at these trophies, I was confident about not changing armor, even not using a continue, but pretty iffy on the 15 hours. I was relieved to learn that they're all pretty doable, considering you can just toss the game on the easiest difficulty. From the moment you start, never change your equipment. I think I played through the entire game without ever opening the menu section. But seeing as it's on easy, the equipment's not as important and the chances of dying are pretty slim, but if you ever do, make sure never press continue. You can, however, load the game as many times as you want, so if you constantly save, then this trophy should be cake. The time limit also has some wiggle room for a decent amount of grinding, so if you're having a lot of trouble in a section, go grind. There's no reason to kill yourself. But the campaign was completed with some hours to spare, and my journey in the first Kingdom Hearts comes to an end. A platinum trophy for me in the game that started a franchise and kicked off my gaming career when I was younger. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I do apologize that the things I could cover were pretty limited because most of what I did in this game I did a long time ago, and I didn't have recordings. The next installment in the series is quite the different game, and it involves deck building, so no peeking. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoy the Kingdom Hearts games like I do. If you have any questions or comments about the game, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, until next time.